the run?
It was good. It was a 47-minute mile and a half.
Really?
So it was more of a walk, but Maureen finished. So that was the goal.
Oh, so you walked it with her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I dragged her.
And pushed her?
Yeah, pretty much. There's a lot of, it's just around the corner, you're almost there,
Oh.
just up the hill.
They've been keeping to me, right?
When we go through the consent agenda, on the employee part of it, I have a question on that. Do I?
It'll be open for discussion.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yep. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Beech Mountain Town Council of August the 8th. If you can mute your cell phones, we certainly would appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Cyclo?
Good afternoon, everyone. Scripture today, let's see, how did it go? Be ye not forgetful when entertaining strangers, oftentimes even entertaining angels. The Air Force Academy, there was a janitor named William Crawford. Mr. Crawford went to work as a janitor. He was retired Army. After World War II, he stayed in the Army for his full 20 years. And then when he retired, he was born and raised in the Colorado Springs area, Colorado. So he went to work as a janitor in the Air Force Academy. And he had some pretty important jobs when he was in the Army, but he chose to go to work as a janitor at the Air Force Academy. And you can probably kind of imagine all these Air Force cadets, you know, these guys, they're pretty sharp guys that wouldn't be there to start with. But I'm sure many of them kind of looked down their nose that this guy was a janitor. And he was shy and withdrawn. He didn't speak unless somebody spoke to him. And they hardly noticed him. That came to a screeching halt one day, though, as destiny would have it. One of the cadets was at the library at the Air Force Academy. And he was doing an assignment the professor had given him on the World War II battles in Italy. So this young cadet is studying there, and it tells the story of this one particular battle. This American company was surrounded by Germans, and they were just about ready to completely be defeated. And this one man volunteered to go out in the German lines with a handful of grenades, and he took out 3 German machine gun nests. And this case really saved his complete company. The company reorganized, and they came forward and saw what had happened, but they never did find this gentleman. So it went on to tell that the company commander was so impressed, he filed a report and went all the way up to Washington, and he was awarded posthumously the Congressional Medal of Honor. And the man's name in the history book she was reading was named William Crawford. And this young cadet said, "Holy cow," said, "that can't be the same guy." And so the more he thought about it, he said, "Well, you know, Mr. Crawford's an Army veteran. He was in World War II." So he went back and he told his roommate about it. And his roommate said, "Nah, that can't be." So they kept on. Finally, his roommate said, "I tell you what," said, "tomorrow morning you get that book and we're going to go see him and ask him." So they approached Mr. Crawford, and he was very nervous when they did, and they showed him the book. And he said, another day, another place, another time. And so he admitted it was him. So of course from then on, Mr. Crawford was treated with a great deal of respect. These Air Force Academy boys, they could do no wrong. They were going around bragging about, hey, our janitor's Congressional Medal of Honor winner here. We're so proud of him. So he went on up to the Commandant, and the Commandant had him speak to classes just like the regular professors and all that. And it came to one of the meetings, and Mr. Crawford admitted that he wished that he could have the Congressional Medal of Honor pinned on him. He didn't get to, it was presented to his father because they thought he was dead, but then when they liberated the prison camp, he was there. So the cadets started a petition and wound up with the Commandant who pulled some strings, and Ronald Reagan, President Reagan, was coming to the Air Force Academy for the graduation speech. And so they persuaded him to present the Medal of Honor, and they didn't tell Mr. Crawford about it. They just wanted him to sit with the cadets as they graduated. And so he got his Medal of Honor from President Reagan. And the Commandant of the Academy, though, I thought pretty well summed it up. He said, these young officers-to-be learn more about life and the way they should conduct themselves from this janitor than they did from any professor they had. And he said it kind of worked both ways too, because said after they found out they had a Congressional Medal of Honor winner there, said you never saw the barracks as clean in your life. So these guys wouldn't dare throw down a piece of paper or anything, and said woe be unto anyone else that did throw one down. They'd have a day of reckoning. So I guess probably the moral of that story would be, hey, be careful who we speak to and think about. You might be right next to a Medal of Honor winner, an angel, a president, a rock star. You just never know. Would you bow your heads, please? Lord, we thank you so much for letting us be here today. We thank you for all the wonderful things you've done for us. We pray that you be with our military, our firefighters, EMT, and law enforcement. We ask, Lord, that you be with Joe, our president, Roy, our governor, Barry, our mayor, Bob, our town manager, and all the council. And we pray that you continue to bless the United States of America and Beach Mountain. Amen.
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 Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, public comments, Ms. Blanco?
Thank you all. Two things today. One, signs. Thank you all for last month for not adding to the signs that we have in town. We're starting to get a little overloaded. And I would like, now that we have all our new signs for the town, to take a look at maybe getting rid of some of the extra ones or the redundant ones that we have. There's lots of signs where same thing over and over, like just across the street within a couple of car lengths of each other, there's 3 signs for the resort. 2 of which have distance markers on them that are significantly different. So, it would be nice if we could go through and find some of it's just a distraction, and it's, a clutter. Thank you. The other thing I wasn't able to be here last month, so I missed the public comment period on the water bond. So I'd like to say a couple of things. One, I support the bond. We need the water supply, and I think that's the best way to pay for it. And I'd like to thank everybody involved, staff, the consultants, and this council for all the hard work they've done trying to secure us some grants to help pay for it. My understanding is the current cost estimates exceed the amount of money we're looking at potentially getting in grants. So I think that that means that at some point we will, if we pass these bonds, we'll need to use them. And I'd like to make that clear to all the taxpayers and have everybody understand that these bonds aren't just just in case, you know, a rainy day fund, just in case we don't get the grants. We're probably gonna have to use them. And I'd like to make that clear so that the future council that's gonna have to actually issue those bonds and find the money to pay for them, it's not a surprise to all the taxpayers when they have to do that. So when discussing the bond in the future, please give us an update on how much we think it's really gonna cost, and so we have an idea of how much we might actually have to issue bonds for and borrow money for. Thank you.
Did you give your address, by the way?
Oh, 710 Pine Ridge Road.
Barry?
I'm Therese Barry, 100 Squirrel. I saw a post on social media about a dog attack. Now, I know social media is full of a lot of absolute BS, but nevertheless, I did see that there was a dog attack. Assuming this was true, this attack happened near the EMO trails, and the dog was injured, as was the person. I think we need to make, or not we, you all, need to make it very clear what dog ordinance are or are not in effect. I, some years ago, was attacked by a Great Dane who probably weighed as much as I do. I wasn't hurt except for skin knees, but this is definitely a problem. There's more and more dogs running all over the place. Under no control. I think that the rule is that they are supposed to be under verbal control of the owner. Well, dogs without their owner aren't under verbal control unless they have some kind of Wi-Fi radio going on. Nevertheless, I think that needs to be made clear. The other thing I wanted to say is about the Beech Mountain Ear, the little newsletter that comes out. I think Jerry Shin used to edit that. Is that true? Anybody know? Yes, Urs says yes. You need an editor. Okay, not all of it, but some of it is very badly written. And while that sounds like an obnoxious thing to say, everybody's always TDA, we want everybody to be welcome, friendly. Well, if people can't understand, or it's atrocious grammar, or incorrect spellings, it reflects poorly on the town. So, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Fairman? Give your address, please.
Gary Fairman, 120 Lower Gross Ridge Road. I read the letter about the water that came out recently, and there was a lot in there. But one thing that I didn't see, and it's probably been considered, but I thought it was worth coming to talk about it, was additional storage. Because as I understand it, the problem isn't that we don't have enough rain up here. There's enough water. It's just that during days that we don't have rain for several days, we don't have sufficient outflow at the location of the water plant to meet the requirements. So I'm wondering why we wouldn't store water above the lake that we're pulling water out of. Any of the creeks that go down there, 3 acre feet is about 1 million gallons of water. And so anywhere that we have a steep place in a creek above the lake, it seems like we could put a dam and just flood a ½ acre or an acre 6 or 8 feet high and have quite a bit of water stored, so that when we have heavy rains and we have excess water, we can store it for the days that we don't have water. And building an earthen dam on a creek wouldn't cost that much. Maybe it's already been considered, but it just seemed like it was worth coming in and suggesting that if it hadn't already been considered, that you could store a lot of water in a heavy rain. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, new business. Resolution to approve the revision of the Town Beech Mountain personnel policy.
Yeah, I have one question on that. Where is that one?
7-1.
So the MAP study was the study that we contracted for the employee information.
Yes,
A.
ma'am.
Okay. The second one, what's the difference in taking out the word annual? When down at the bottom, when it talked about the vacation leave, accrual from 12 days to 22 days per year, tied to annual years of service versus 12 days to 25 days per year, dependent on years of service.
No, that is not the change. The change that is material is the fact that we're asking to go from 22 days after 12 years of tenure with the town to 25 days. It's a 3-day
Okay,
increase.
so that putting that word in and out didn't make a difference on it?
No, instead of saying annual, it says 12 years of service.
Okay.
Annual service, same thing.
Okay.
So the material part of that, substantial, is that we're asking to increase the accrual rate after 12 years to 25 days instead of 22.
Okay, and then on the bereavement part of it, does that affect the sick leave at all? I was trying to read
It
through,
does not.
okay,
That's the other material change in addition, is adding 3 bereavement days for the immediate family, which is further defined. And that is in addition to any sick or vacation leave that someone may want to take for that period.
okay, so it doesn't affect the sick leave at all?
It does not.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, I got a question on page 41 of 144. Last paragraph, B, at the bottom, where it says that the non-exempt employees required to work on-call duty will be paid for 5 hours of work for each week of on-call. Is this a straight pay or overtime, or how's that calculated?
It's calculated as straight time, however, it can create overtime. So if you have a person who's on the on-call list and they've worked 40 hours that week, those 5 hours then would put them in, any other additional hours puts them into the overtime. Anything over 40 hours in a work week creates overtime.
Okay,
If on the other hand, they have less than 40 hours, let's say that 38, the first 2 of the 5 do not put them in the overtime arena. So it can create overtime per FLSA.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I need a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We need acceptance of the funding resolution,
I have a question on that.
7-1, go ahead.
That's just the, are there any other recommendations that MAPS has suggested that we haven't implemented?
Yes, we talked about that. We talked about that when you adopted the pay plan. There was a recommendation to create a new full-time human resource person, and I had given you my opinion that that wasn't required nor needed, and you agreed. So that was one recommendation they proposed that we did not accept.
Okay.
Okay, we're back on 7-2 on the resolution.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We have 2.8 million with a maximum interest of 1.1 and a
Mayor,
loan.
this is another SRF loan for water and sewer work. And this is strictly sewer. We did not receive the water.
Part portion of it.
And like you said, it's for $2,870,000. I think it's important to note that the interest rate is 1.1%.
It's pretty low.
Like to borrow some myself.
I wish.
Any further discussion?
I think I'm good.
Everybody all right? Need a motion to accept?
Motion?
All in
Second.
favor? Okay.
Now that, I had one other question on the MRI back, is that?
Go ahead.
Okay. On 6.2 in the packet, I didn't see where it said what the cost was, the lease was. Is that disclosed yet, or is that still under for the
That's for
next
the
year?
EMO.
Yes,
There is no cost.
Okay.
If you recall, we had a 2-year bridge agreement with the landowner, and it expires September 29th of this year. We have not come to a resolution for a long-term lease.
okay,
So this is to get us another 12 months at no
Okay.
cost to either party while we continue to negotiate. We still have the rights to the EMO while we try to come to some resolution for a long-term lease.
okay, and, the negotiation is what, between the Emerald Outback Properties, or is it the family and the town, or is this,
I'm dealing with the Lighty family
Okay.
on that, and they have been very receptive. They've hired a land planner, and they're interested in incorporating the EMO into their overall land planning goals. And we've had one meeting so far, and it was very productive.
okay,
This simply buys us another 12 months
okay,
so that we continue to indemnify them for anything that happens out of the EMO, and we will continue to maintain it. We're not going to improve it, but we'll continue to maintain it for the enjoyment of the public.
okay, perfect, thank you.
So there's no plans to spend any money during the 12 months, it's just a maintenance program?
Well, we'll expend funds both in labor and materials for maintenance.
Right.
There'll be no additional trails, there'll be no additional improvements under this 12-month extension.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, need a motion to call for public hearing on the proposed text amending the driveway connections.
So move.
Any discussion on that?
No.
Everybody understand it?
Mhm.
Okay, I got a motion to approve, I need a second.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Okay, we have a proclamation on end of overdose in Watauga, the day proclamation. I'll read it out.
Mayor, before you start, if I could ask Mrs. Mary McKinney to come up to the podium. She's the impetus behind this proclamation, and I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
If that's okay, just brief comments.
It'll shorten the proclamation. Go ahead, I'm kidding.
Okay. Thank you for considering this proclamation for End Overdose in Watauga County, or EOIW, with this year's International Overdose Awareness Day campaign to raise awareness recognizing people who go unseen. According to the CDC, there were 14 overdose deaths in Watauga County in 2022. However, every time I speak to anyone who works in the fields of harm reduction, recovery, public health, or emergency medical response, they share that these statistics related to overdose deaths and lives saved by overdose reversal medications are flawed, and that the numbers are actually much higher. And it's been impossible so far to have really reliable data about any of the specific towns in our area either, including here in Beech Mountain. As we consider the numbers of these statistics, I will briefly offer some numbers from my family, and I don't know that my family is probably terribly different from yours or from other families that are important to you. I raised 3 children, 2 biological daughters and 1 stepson from his age of 11. He died June 6th, 2022 at the age of 45 from alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. Thankfully, my daughters are in better shape these days. My older daughter has been abstinent from substances today consecutively for 1 year, 3 months, and 30 days. We anticipate celebrating 3 years of consecutive abstinence for my baby daughter on August 17th. So we are lucky with them. They are actively recovering now, but for many years they suffered in isolation and shame. As a mental health professional, I had some relevant knowledge and insight, but it was no match for the shame, terror, overwhelm, despair, and exhaustion created by the control these substances had over their brain and their abilities to make different choices for an awfully long time. As they courageously recover now, they are able to speak about the stigma they had internalized and the shame they had carried that blocked them from help and put them in frequent danger. Rewiring their brains from the harm done to them and to us is the work of recovery. I cannot begin to offer you a quantification of my gratitude that they are alive to do this work of recovery and for us to do this work as a family. EOIW is a day and an event offering encouragement and tools to help us see and love, knowing that love is a verb. People for whom substances threaten their lives and the people who love them. EOIW is a day and an event offering space to help carry the weight of grief from losing a loved one to overdose. Truly, this weight is too heavy for any person or family to bear alone. The actions of this seeing and loving include rejecting stigma about people for whom substance use becomes unmanageable or deadly. These actions include making overdose prevention and reversal information and supplies easily available and being ready to save a life. As long as there is breath, there is life, and all life is valuable. As long as there is breath, there is a chance for a step of recovery. On August 31st, overdose prevention and reversal training and supplies will be available for free in various locations and times in Boone. That evening, we will gather for live music from members of Blue Country, resource tables with information and supplies, speakers with lived experience, space for holding grief as a community, and a candlelight vigil to remember those we have lost. Details can be found on Facebook at the End Overdose in Watauga's page and will be forthcoming in local papers and radio. Thank you for considering a proclamation to increase our awareness and action for holding grief together and for saving and improving lives.
Thank you. The proclamation ends overdose in Watauga on August 31st, 2023. Whereas the town of Beech Mountain, North Carolina does affirm to acknowledge the hardship caused by drug overdose. And whereas we recognize the International Overdose Awareness Day as a remembering loved ones lost to overdose and ending their stigma of drug-related death. And whereas we resolve to play our part in reducing the toll of overdose in our community, which claimed the lives of more than 14 residents of Watauga County last year, together with countless more affected forever. And whereas we affirm that the people affected by overdose are sons and daughters, our mothers and fathers, our brothers and sisters, and deserve our love, compassion, and support. Now thereof, the town of Beech Mountain does hereby proclaim August 31st, 2023 as the end of overdose in Watauga Day in Beech Mountain, North Carolina, and encourage all residents to consider being trained in the use of life-saving overdose reverse medication and have it available to use. In witness whereof I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the town of Beech Mountain to be effective. Date August the 8th, 2023. Do we have the proclamation or?
No. We'll have you sign it and we'll get it to them.
Okay,
But she'd like to take a picture with you, Mayor.
okay. I'll come over there.
They have a prime photographer. Cooperative with you. I appreciate it very much. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Has the town ever held a CPR class?
The fire department does, we host those. Tim Holland puts those on a regular basis.
Is it advertised?
It's usually done for groups that contact the fire department. Tim sets that up. We have not done a town-wide CPR to my knowledge.
Okay, Bob, monthly financial report.
Mayor and council, if you take a look at page 112, this is the financial report, end of year report, June 30th, end of fiscal year, where the benchmark is 100% of the budget. Just would like to talk to you about a few items here. The revenue summary, tax revenue, year to date, 99.37%. That was collected by our tax collector, Michael Ward. We budget less than that, 98%. So we did a very good job on bringing in revenues, and Rebecca did a great job this year. Then if you'd take a look just at total expenditures, down at the bottom, 90.6%. That's 9.4% under budget. And if you will look at the line items above that in the expenditure category, every department was within budget. Every department came within their target. And I want to take the opportunity to thank the department directors specifically for managing their budgets that we have set forward for them. And they brought in, they got everything done that you asked them to do, plus, and they were under budget.
Well, I think you need to compliment them. I think they did a great job.
They did a great job.
And to be coming under that is fabulous.
And, you know, we could have done that without doing all the projects and improvements that we've done in the town, but as you know, everything that you asked us to do was completed and more, so they've done a great job. And I get to sit up here, and, you know, everybody gives me accolades, but I don't do a thing. They're the ones that do the work. I've never put a shovel in my hand for 3 years now, so I did want to thank them. If you look at the next page, 113, our water and sewer utility is 7.2% under budget. And if you turn the page to 114, our last fund is the sanitation fund, is 13.7%. You increased rates to get us to that point on sanitation, but we're holding the line, and everyone's doing a great job of getting the budget. The next page, 115, this is the last piece of the financial report. This is the monthly financial that goes through the year. Just a couple things I want to point out. If you look up at the top in the general fund, estimated change to fund balance in July of 2022, when we started the budget, we're at $6,001,150. That's the audited fund balance at that particular point. If you run your finger all the way to the end of the year, June 30th, that fund balance is $7,750,882. That's an unaudited number. The auditors are actually here today. We'll have an audited number for you, but our finance director, Steve Smith, is really good on the numbers, and this isn't going to change much if at all. So that's a substantial improvement in the fund balance. And part of the reason is that last year, as you know, we collected more in Avalon than what the budget was set for, 68 cents to 65. And you were asked, and I was asked in the public a year ago, what were we going to do with that extra money? And we said we were going to follow the budget, and we weren't going to spend it frivolously, as we were all accused of we were going to do that. I just want to report we're done with the year. It's over. We didn't spend the money. It's right here. If you look at that same page, the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund had an improvement of about $360,000 in the fund balance, and the sanitation fund had about $71,000 improvement in fund balance. Some people would say, well, you've got all this money in the bank, cut my taxes. And we've discussed this before. What we're trying to do is improve our balance sheet, improve our financials standing. We're going to go to the public in November and ask for a $15 million general obligation bond. Should that pass, we're going to go out on the open market and be rated and have an interest rate based on what our security and our fund balance and how our finances are with the town. The fact that this year we've improved our balance sheet substantially will give us a better interest rate, lower interest rate for 20 years, should that bond pass and should we issue bonds. So there's a method to the madness. It's not it's not frivolous, we're not flying by the seat of our pants. We intend to set the town up in a very secure financial manner going forward. All right, so let's do some project updates. The Town Hall Visitor Center, if you haven't noticed all the construction out there, we're on schedule. We've had some rain infiltration into both existing buildings. The contractor's taken full responsibility for it, and everything will be remediated, but we are underway and we're on schedule. The ski loft project, we're out for bid. We have a bid opening on August 31st at 2 o'clock here in Town Hall. And we've got a pre-construction or pre-bid meeting with any of the interested bidders on the 15th of this month. We've got by far the vast majority of the temporary construction easements are in. They've been recorded, and we've made payment on those. We've got, I think, 3 left, and our town attorney is working to bring those home one way or the other. Our Oz lift station, well, let me go back to ski loft. We are committed to digging dirt on April 1st, 2024, so we need to have a mild end of the winter, please. We've got 180 days from April 1st to complete that project, substantially complete, and have access and utilities back onto those properties up there. So the plan is to, 8 o'clock in the morning on April 1st, start digging dirt.
What's the penalties for the contractors if they're behind schedule?
Penalties vary. We've got $500 a day for certain milestones, $1,000 a day for others. And in this contract, we've offered bonuses to the contractor to be done early. Because we're obligated with our temporary construction easements and the citizens to be done in 180 days, we're offering substantial bonuses to be finished early. So between the, well, let me go back. The penalties are simply something that I believe the contractor builds into the price. It really doesn't, I really need them to bring this in under the time frame. So the bonuses are really, that's the carrot. You know, get this done early, and, and you can have some bonuses. So we think we've got a good plan. It's very aggressive, but we're digging dirt on it first.
And same for Mountain Electric.
Mountain Electric and the telephone and cable companies are on board with us. We're going to have the one contractor do all the work, and then they're reimbursing the town for their portion of the work.
Okay.
Yes, sir. So the Oz lift station is, most of the work has been completed. We're waiting for the components, and particularly the structure for the lift station and the pump, as well as the Pinnacle well site. All the on-site work has been done, but we're waiting for the pumps. Seems to be a difficult item to purchase. Lake Coffee, the design's underway. We'll begin the geotech drilling the first part of September. That's when we'll go out there. The contractor will go out and drill up to 27 core holes into the area to see, particularly where the new dam goes, to see what's underneath, so that the design can be created and completed when we go to the Army Corps of Engineers. We still have no official word on funding from either the state or the FEMA grant that we've applied for. Both have not been denied. That's good news. We hear snippets of information that the state budget contains something for Beach Mountain. We don't know how much. And the federal grant is going through the process. We haven't been denied, so that's a good thing. And then the general obligation bond is underway. All the milestones have been met. You've done everything that you need to do to get that on the November 3rd agenda, or on the ballot. We've got one more public notice to do, and we have I call it the truth in lending. That's really not what it is, but it basically outlines to the public what the cost is, what the interest rate will be, and what the impact to the tax rate is, so that they can make an informed decision at the ballot box. Our wind park sign is underway. It's that mess out there as you enter Public Works. Just want to remind everybody, I've received a few calls, but that's being funded 100% by the Volunteer Fire Department through non-taxpayer funds. They're funding that addition. You saw the drawings, and we'll have that
The plan is to have it done by the end of September. We continue with drainage improvements, culvert work, mostly on Tamarack and Charter Hills. That's down there, but we're improving the drainage and getting the culverts put in, and we're working on water service lines, and hopefully get that done before winter. And we have some vacant positions on our boards that I need you to give me some directions. We have 2 on the planning board that are vacant, 1 on the TDA and 1 on the Board of Adjustment. We haven't done, other than talk about it here and put it up on the website, we haven't really done much to try and garner some support or garner some people to apply. So is there a particular method you'd like us to try? Particularly on the planning board, we're low. I've got 1 applicant that I twisted his arm to come in and fill it out. But if you've got some friends or some people in the community that you think would be good on those boards, we need to be able to bring those to you pretty soon.
Do we
Are you on the
put
plan?
these in the monthly newsletter, these openings? The one that goes out?
We haven't, we can.
That'd be one
Yeah.
way to let
Yeah.
people
Are
know.
you on the family website?
No,
You are on one, aren't you?
I'm on, not on the family one.
No, but you are on one?
Yeah,
Can you put
I
something in
can
there?
do that.
I'm on none of them.
All right, good
We'll
idea.
continue to solicit. I think I have 1 for the TDA and 1 for the planning board. But we've got multiple positions, and I'd really like to bring you a list that you can pick from.
Okay.
So if anyone knows someone who might be interested, please let us know. You can call Emily, she'll get an application, and we'll get that put together. Almost done here. If you take a look at page 124 in your report, just real quick, it's a graph. And again, we're gonna take credit.
Could make it any bigger.
It's kind of oblong, but bear messes, 2.
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Looks
So-
like,
I saw
looks like
that.
a football.
So if you recall, about 3 years ago, when we took on the issue of changing the sanitation system in Beach Mountain, it was quite painful. But one of the reasons was we had trash all over the mountain from bears. We've had 2 in this period, and that is a substantial reduction. And that just goes to show you that the system, the changes that you make to the system work. If you look at page 125, right next to it, and one of the things I'd just like to point out in raw water totals from the utility plant, 0.734 million gallons per day max. That's 734,000 gallons per day. We're drawn out of Lake Coffee in 1 day and processed into raw water and sent out into the distribution system. The reason we have a water problem is we can't continue to take that kind of water out of the lake when we have to release the same amount of water that comes in. Mathematically, it doesn't work. Our average for this month was 561,000 gallons that we drew out of the lake. And even though it's raining, and even though everybody's criticizing me for having the conserve water sign on when it's raining, the gentleman that spoke today, we can't hold enough water, particularly if we take out more than 500,000 gallons a day. So that's an important number. And what I've asked Daniel Davis, our utility director, to do is, in the months moving forward, this report will have a column of what you see for this month, and it'll show you the same month last year. And what you're going to see is a tremendous amount of water coming out of that lake, and we don't have enough going back in. 14 days out of the past 28, we're in violation of our permit in Lake Buckeye for the last 30 days. Last thing I've got, we've got some kettle corn and a flyer here. The third farmers market on August 5th was another great success, well received by the community. The weather was fantastic. The next farmers market will be September 1st. Mayor and council, that's all I've got, unless you've got some questions.
Solid waste is still pretty high.
Well, yes, if you look
Got a
at
lot.
where we're running, the mountain has more people here on a regular basis.
Chief, I want to commend you and your staff on the way that you've presented the numbers with budget changes on page 144. these are one of the requests that, if you guys remember, that we asked Chief Pudney to not to be more transparent, but just show us where these dollars are going and how they're being applied. And I think this just, it exhibits transparency and reinforces accountability, how our dollars are being spent.
Councilman, this report, just so everybody knows, this report, via the budget ordinance, allows the town manager to move dollars within the same fund. And it requires me to put it in the minutes for you, which is what this report does. And what this says is where I've moved money within the budgetary allocations that you've given me. So at the end of the year, we can not only be transparent, as you said, but we can use this in future budgeting so we know exactly what we spend in those line items. So this is a report of where the town manager and the finance director has moved money within the fund per the ordinance between line items.
If you guys recall, I think Chief Pudney implemented this, and it wasn't done in the past.
Okay. Public comment, public council comments.
I have a few.
Okay. Looks
my-
like you got a story there.
Well, no, I write big. I wanted to thank the people that have signed up to serve the town of Beech Mountain. I think it's amazing that we have 5 candidates for town council, which I think is a really nod towards Beech Mountain. I'm running for the 2-year seat. I'm not running for the 4-year seat, just to let everyone know. But just a shout out to those that are committing to making this town the best that it can be. Farmers Market, nothing better. Parks and Rec did that Race the Beech Mountain 4 series over 4 Fridays, and they just basically killed it. They did a great job. You know it's a good race when people sign up day of. So that shows you that word's gotten out and people really love this race. Last is the History Museum calendars are out. They're down at the museum, and it's all local photographers, pictures of Beech Mountain. It's pretty amazing. And they're donations to the museum. And if you are free, August 27th at 2 o'clock, across from the museum, they're dedicating a marker to Ray Hicks. So that's it for me.
Mr. Abernathy?
It's going to kind of mirror what Kelly said. I'd like to thank the folks the candidates that are running for town council. It is a thankless job. And we've got Alan and Robert and Art here. Thank you for attending. So we're going to scold Stanford for not showing up today. I'm sure he's got something that he's got to get done. But thanks again for throwing your name in the hat, and good luck. Want to continue to thank the town employees and the staff. I think Beech Mountain it's a continuous project. It's looking better. I think our council's done a good job with the direction that we're moving the town in, and we need to continue with forward motion and keep this thing going. Thank you.
Mr. Curry? Nothing? All right, just to follow up what everybody else said, is the guys are here that are gonna be running, and I wish you best of luck. I know some of you have gray hair now, and you might not have any at the end of it. But have a lot of fun. I just hope that when you get elected, that you follow the program that we set forth, because I think you can see the improvement in the town. I know a lot of people, talk about taxes, but you gotta look around how much the improvement of the town is, and what we've done in the last 4 years and 6 years. So I think you gotta take that in consideration. I just hope you just keep follow through with it, because I hate to see us go back the way it was before we got on. The theory was, let's kick the can down the road and we'll worry about it later. And once we got on here, we said the exact opposite. We're gonna fight for it now, and we even dodge later about what people are gonna complain about. But look around, and really see what we've done. And I'm sure you'll understand why we did what we did. And then a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.